What would happen if you took some of the most family-friendly Minecraft content creators on the platform? People known for their skill with building, with redstone, with the technical aspect of Minecraft. Friends who have played peacefully on servers for years together, and forced them to kill. Life SMP is the second season of Third Life, and in essence, it's a game of last player standing. Every player starts with a randomly assigned number of lives, from 2 to 6, and they're either yellow, green, or dark green depending on that. Sessions take place once a week, and that's all the time the players have. 3 hours, no more, no less. When you're green or yellow, your only objective is to stay alive. Prepare for the inevitable bloodbath. Alliances generally form during this time, tentative groups of members united in knowing that in the end, only one of them can survive. When you're on your last life, however, your name turns red, all alliances broken, all objectives lost. Your only goal is to kill the rest of the server. And at the start of every session, the boogeyman is chosen. One or more of the players is secretly cursed, doomed to lose all but one of their lives at the start of the next session. They could be the most powerful player on the server, rolling in diamonds and wealth. They could have the most lives, deftly avoiding death at every single turn. They could be friends with every single member of the server, best friends with them all. But the only way to avoid the effects of the curse? Kill another player. Only then will the curse of the boogeyman be lifted. Only then will their thirst for blood be quenched in the cold, cold waters of revenge. And that brings us to the actual SMP. Dastardly traps, terrible accidents, 15 of the smartest players in Minecraft all pitted against you. The minds behind the first ever sorting system in Minecraft, the brain that created this in Minecraft, the inventor of TNT Run. These are Minecraft's best and brightest, and you will need a plan to beat them. And that is where I come in. Here, dear viewer, is how you win Life SMP. Let's get started. The first days of Lost Life are the most important. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Trust no one, but stay trustworthy. The goal for the first session is to get full iron and the lay of the land. Team up with no more than 3 people. Any less powerless anymore is unstable. And most importantly, always have an exit route. In the following sessions, figure out what people want, find a resource that's valuable and corner it. This season of Last Life, that's the enchanting table. Use this as leverage. Trade towards more and more valuable items. 1 diamond per enchant, after all, leads to 5 diamonds for an incredible chestplate, a cactus, a piece of sugarcane. Items that are rare, items that everyone would want to get their hands on. Items that people will be willing to trade a life for. Hold off on trading for as long as possible. If people see you with too many lives too early on, they'll stop wanting to trade with you. Act weak. Make your enemies think they have the upper hand. Lull them into a false sense of security. And remember, if you don't have a monopoly on a resource, that resource loses value. Therefore, the only way forward is to create that monopoly. Case in point, good times with Scar. Incredible at building, but even better at acting. Scar has a hand in every pie on the SMP, a magical eye gazing upon his server mates from high atop his mountain. Scar played the early game of Last Life masterfully, the fourth wall but a string in the fiddle he uses to deftly control his fellow server mates. You see, Scar realizes what Last Life is. It's entertainment, it's content. He can be as brazen, as bold, as daring he wants in front of his enemies. Why? Well, they won't kill someone who's entertaining, no matter how outrageous his claims. With just the right blend of charm, persuasion, and a little bit of luck, he can successfully sell dyed glass, objectively worthless items, to a significant portion of the server in exchange for real, valuable things. Scar plays this role so incredibly well because he knows his reputation isn't one that can be used to intimidate people. He's no Etho, he's no Zombie Cleo. The name Good Times with Scar doesn't invoke terror amongst server members, but it should. Scar is known for his derpy antics, he's known for not being the best at Minecraft, he's known for being the man who single-handedly keeps Grian's Did You Die services rolling in cash on the HermitCraft server. Don't let that fool you. Scar is not as bad at Minecraft as it seems, and he's playing up this exaggerated character of being bad at the game to make himself seem less imposing. Act weak. Make your enemies think they have the upper hand. Lull them into a false sense of security. Through these mind games, Scar has managed to involve himself in nearly every alliance on the server, but never been tied down to one. There are deals struck and bargains made and people willing to take a loss on trades because, well, it's Scar and he's alone. What's the most he could do? And that ability of his to flutter between camps, to take the best deal by whichever means possible, to check, as he did, for the best deal on already sold items, that was granted to him by the fact that his only ally died early on in the server. This freedom, however, comes at a price. Despite Scar's success in the early game, Lost Life is not a game that can be won alone. In fact, Scar had the early game of Lost Life down pat, and then fumbled hard in the mid game. Scar made one fatal error, an error that caused him to fall as spectacularly from grace as he did in his 5th episode. He traded his lives. The golden rule of Lost Life, you see, is that you never sell your lives, especially not in the mid game where they're least valuable. Scar, however, was forced to, because he had no alliances, no one to watch his back. There's a way to play around selling your souls for friends, but Scar fumbled that as well. To understand this, however, we need to look at how the strongest allyship on the server was created, how Third Life's residual monarchy managed to find its way into its descendant, and how this all started the rule of the Shadow Queen. LDShadowlady, or Lizzie, made one of the smartest decisions yet in Lost Life, traded in such a clever and nuanced way that when Scar did almost the exact same thing for himself, it backfired almost immediately. You see, Lizzie traded a life for an alliance, but she only traded one life for it, and crucially, she traded it to someone who had nowhere to go, no other friends. To Ren. Scar traded to Grian, to Cleo, to B-Dubs, these players who had pre-made alliances, players who would abandon him in the short term no matter their plans in the long term. Ren, however, was instantly taken in by Lizzie, was instantly made the most integrated member of the Fairy Fort Alliance because he owed Lizzie a debt, sure, but also had nowhere to go if not the Shadow Queen. So, from those two case studies, what have we learned? How do you win Lost Life? How do you make sure that your trades are smart enough to keep people coming back to you, but also lucrative enough to secure what you need? Well, let's keep the story going. So, status report. You have your alliance, a group similar to Etho and B-Dubs, fiercely loyal but also constantly wary, constantly on edge. If all goes well, you haven't had a boogeyman in the group yet, and if you did, the kill was made outside of it. That one enemy will have had to be made, we can deal with it later. You're geared up, but not incredibly so. Remember, you've traded away most of your power in exchange for lives or other bargaining chips. There are a few basic traps set up around your base, but they're more of a deterrent than actually intended to kill. No, that's left for the red lice. Now, however, is a time to get secretly stacked. Do what Grian did in episode 4 and create a respawn spot away from your alliance. Despite the number of lives you have, there's always a possibility of you turning red, and it's important to prepare for that. Go mining every session and siphon away a good chunk of the resources to your secret hideout. Blame the low resources on bad luck. Try and obtain an army of dogs and figure out what everyone else thinks of you. Remember, the more powerful you seem, the less likely people are to trade with you, but the less likely they are to attack you. And now here, dear viewer, is where the most dastardly part of this plan kicks in. People are only going to trade with you freely if you're weak. The power you currently hold, the lies, well, everyone knows about that because of Tab. There is a way, however, to work around this, and it revolves solely around those dogs that we talked about earlier. And this brings us splendidly onto the last segment of this video, the end game. Lives won't win you Lost Life. Unfortunately enough, simply having 7 lives doesn't guarantee your victory. Therefore, in the endgame, your goal is to become the most powerful player on the server, and not only that, to become the most powerful red name on the server. That's right, I told a bit of a white lie earlier. The plan is simple. People don't want to trade with someone who's already powerful, and lives are the best currency. In the endgame, people will do anything for lives, despite their value actually dropping significantly. Make it seem like you don't have many lives and are therefore not powerful, and people will give you anything for one. All the gear that they grind for, all the resources that they risk their lives in the early game to get, all yours for the taking, as long as you execute the plan properly. Remember your dog army? Rename just one of them to your name and sit them down in your panic room. The idea? Making sure people don't realize that you're trading lives, don't realize that you're secretly stacked, by making it seem like after every trade, you die. Let me explain. If you pull off a life trade, chances are people will notice. Going from green to light green is a big step, and in the endgame, everyone's on edge. Trading for lives means you're moving, it means you're a threat, it means it's not the best idea to trade with you because you might snowball, which is exactly what you want to do. If you're dying, however, well, it's a whole other story. Make sure you know who you're trading with. If necessary, set up the deals beforehand and get ready to execute them quickly. Set up a nether portal, and after every trade, kill one of your dogs in lava. Since it's named the same as you, it'll look like you died to fire. Emerge from the nether and make your next trade, saying you need the item because you just died to get your stuff, whatever you need to say to get it. Then, rinse and repeat. In the process, everyone will think you're simply losing lives, when in fact, you're gaining so much more. Trade down till you're on your red life, and then it's a waiting game. People won't attack if you're red and the boogeymen can't kill you, so strategic chaos, steal random items, but preserve yourself above all. Killing is not your objective, not yet. When people die, don't try to clean the kill, but burn their items in lava. Create a monopoly over good gear. Finally, then, there'll be just a few stragglers left from the infighting of groups that you left destroyed in your wake. And with your insane amount of power, with your incredible wealth and destructive capabilities, build an obsidian box around spawn, break their beds, and kill them till there's no one left. And that, dear viewer, is how you win Lost Life. If you enjoyed, consider one of these videos next. Subscribe.